500 Days of Summer. Just as a warning, this review is not about a romantic comedy because this is not a romantic comedy. And two very different people feel two very different, strong, and opposing opinions about this film. So this is your warning. Hello, everyone. It's the Lord of Toxicity, and today we get to do something a little bit different. I get to talk about one of my favorite movies. For those of you who've watched my channel and followed me along on some of my things that I have done, you'll know that, before he was the Lord of Toxicity, he was quite a romantic fool, Lord Toxic was. And some woman done him wrong. And this is the end result, what you have now. One of my favorite not so romantic comedies is 500 Days of Summer from 2009 from Mark Webb and Fox Searchlight Studios, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zoe Deschanel as the titular character Summer. About a year ago during cuffing season of last year, the Losers Lounge and I did a watch along / review of it, and we had some pretty interesting takes. I'll be playing a clip, and I'm joined today by the illustrious eclectic goat. Excuse me. How are you today, ma'am?
I am well, thank you.
Okay.
We spent so long trying to work together on videos, and now we've managed 2 in 1 week.
2 in 1 week, indeed. Yes. I will also be providing a link to the Hannibal, sort of a consider the source, sort of a hodgepodge mix of both of our channels' viewpoints. We did over on the Eclectic Goats channel, where we talked about which one was better, the movie or the book, and most people know which one I side on more often than not. And she was kind enough to go ahead and not only sit and talk about this film with me today, but she was kind enough to watch it for the first time. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my co-host and guest, and I would just love to hear your opinion as a first-time watcher of this classic, not so romantic comedy. Please, the floor is yours.
So I am not a fan of romantic comedies in any
Mm.
way, shape, or form. The closest I think I've ever come to liking something in this genre would be Sliding Doors. Um,
Okay.
and even
Is that
that,
the
even
Gwyneth
that,
Paltrow? Is that the Gwyneth Paltrow movie?
I mean, honestly, what I was going to say is, and in that case, it was ages ago, and I still wouldn't watch it again.
Oh, wow.
Um, so I really don't even remember it terribly well.
Okay.
Um, uh, while I don't mind happy endings, I am not crazy about unrealistic happy endings. That probably was about the only thing I enjoyed about this movie. Uh, I did watch it at request, but not really my cup of tea. Um, I disagree that it is not a romantic comedy.
Hmm.
I I mean, first of all, it's labeled as a romantic comedy. Second of all, romantic comedies very frequently don't end up with people actually getting together, so the fact that they don't end up together, I don't think negates it from being a romantic comedy.
Spoiler.
Look, if they haven't seen the movie at this point, they're probably not going to.
Probably not after they watch this, certainly.
I'm pretty sure once you pass the 10-year mark, uh, you can just assume there will be spoilers.
I think that that's a pretty fair assessment. If in 10 years you've not seen it, I don't think that that's something that you can demand of people to rid themselves of spoilers. So, I'd like to right now for just give a quick synopsis. Again, I don't know why you'd be watching this review if you've not seen this movie and at least seen this movie several times and is a fan. There is a ton of discussion on this movie on YouTube and through a lot of social media. In reviewing this and researching stuff for it, I found that there's a ton. There is a ton of content for this, and I think deservedly so. I don't subscribe to what my partner here has said that it's a mid or subpar film. I think it's
Oh, no, no,
probably
no. No, no, no.
no.
Let me clarify. I am
Clarify
not
away.
s- I am not saying that it is a subpar movie. I'm saying I do not enjoy rom-coms.
I see. Okay. Well,
I
see,
am
could I
very
kind of
I
go
try to
ahead.
be very clear about movies I enjoy that are terrible, So I also want to be clear when a movie is well made, it just happens to not be my thing.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I do still kind of hold to the disagreement that it is, in fact, a rom-com, but we'll get there. So having just watched this, let me just give a brief overview of the synopsis of the plot. So we have Tom, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's kind of a meandering regular guy, bit of a romantic, lives in LA. It's not doing his dream job, kind of just existing, hang out. He's got a couple cool friends. He's got a decent apartment, which is never really explained how he has such a badass apartment, but whatever. He's got a good relationship with his sister, and he's kind of just meandering around through life, waiting to meet the one. Along comes Summer. She's your prototypical pixie dream girl, which is basically, the I do what I want when I want kind of character, super pretty, super quirky, a role that Zoe Deschanel plays to a T. I mean, you can look up Pixie Dream Girl in the dictionary. You're probably going to get Zoe Deschanel, certainly. And she's sort of made a career playing this type of role. Although I do have some reservations about how much of a dream girl she actually is, but we'll get there. They meet. Tom instantly falls in love. Summer instantly does not. And what follows is a disjointed and told out of sequence narrative, with 500 days being the cumulative time to which Summer enters Tom's life and ultimately leaves it. And not just leaves it physically, but leaves his mind altogether for him to focus on other things. So I kind of think of this as like a breakup movie more than anything else. I think it's visually stunning, and I think it's very well acted. And just the fact that there's about 3 or 4 dozen videos specifically set on YouTube talking about this movie and its content, I think that kind of speaks volumes in and of itself. But hey, as my partner here says, not her cup of tea. Uh, right off the rip, though, what did you think of this opening scrawl that they do here, with the kind of backstory that the narration gives you right off the bat? What'd you think about that?
I thought it was designed to be shocking,
Yeah.
um, which just kind of made me go, "Nah."
Well, for the uninitiated, Jenny Beckman is a real person, presumably, and Mark Webb, the creator of this film, he basically said this is his, tale of woe that he had with a character that was very similar to Summer, Jenny Beckman, and this is, as the narrator tells you right off the bat, 500 Days of Summer is not a love story. So cautions
If
you, but the story makes you forget. Go ahead.
I have to say that if that was not just designed to be shocking and funny,
Uh-huh.
that before I was just kind of meh, but if that's an actual thing, that actually makes me dislike it more. Because
Oh, no.
seriously, if it's been that long and you haven't gotten over someone, get over yourself.
Oh, yikes. I really feel like we can already tell who is who in this dynamic. Who is the romantic and who is the realist. But you know what? That's great, because that's why I wanted to have you on to do this. What's your take on the disjointed, out of chronological order? Does this kind of storytelling like upset you? Does it make you dig it? Does it make you not like it? Does it drive you bonkers? What's the deal?
Um, I do appreciate movies that are not written with the intention that you're on your phone while you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
Um, One of the reasons I do a lot of underappreciated 90s television reviews, and the more of them I do, the more I remember how much I enjoyed shows where you actually had to pay attention.
Agreed.
Um, and I did appreciate the fact that this movie does really require that. Especially since they don't, there are no voiceovers saying, now we're on day 488.
Right.
Um, so many movies now are just written with the intention that you're only kind of half paying attention.
Mhm.
I did also really enjoy kind of the sketch artwork things that came up.
Okay.
Um, I thought that transition, the way they did the transitions was very nice. I liked that.
I like that too. I am not, as I said in the rewatch we did on Losers Lounge when I had, Blue Collar Loser and Stupenzo on, as I'm sure you've worked with Stupenzo, you know that he's an artist.
Mhm.
One of the things that will draw him into a film will be the artistic stuff that's done in it, and I have no fault in that. Obviously, as a writer, and the things that I like the plot to be done very well. I'm not a big, oh god, this movie's so visually stunning, and that doesn't really do a whole lot for me. However, this movie is the exception to that rule because I love all of the visual stuff that they do in it. Everything, I've watched it conservatively 30 to 40 times maybe,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, I've seen it a lot. I've
I'm
seen it a
trying to
lot.
remember I'm trying to remember if there's any movie I've seen. I think Usual Suspects was the closer I came, and that was one
I mean,
that was like 20.
listen, that's a great film. So I mean, there's definitely nothing wrong with that.
I
Um,
like watching other people watch that movie.
I like watching. Yeah, I like experiencing that. It's been a while, but yes, I agree. When there's a movie like that, I do like to experience that with the people that I watch it with for the first and watch them discover that for the first time. But I mean, you can only do that so many times, right? And especially the older that a movie gets. Although we might be at a stage where now you know the movie's gone so far, back into the zeitgeist that, there's people who actually don't know the whole Kaiser Soze yada yada yada. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. This is one of those movies for me. This is one of those movies that I like to engage with people for the first time. I'll tell you this, I will watch this on a first home date. So if my thing goes past a one-nighter or one weekender or whatever, past a fling, and I think there might be some sort of chemistry with the person,
Mhm.
I'll be like, "Hey, let's watch a movie." And this is something that I'll pick. Invariably, they've not seen it,
Hmm.
more often than not. In fact, I've never put this on for someone and they go, "Ooh, I love 500 Days of Summer." Like, no woman I've ever shown it to has ever seen it. Uh,
Really? That's
yeah,
interesting because
never.
I mean, it's usually a female movie kind of thing.
I think this is a guy's rom-com. I think this is well, and I don't even think it's a rom-com though, but I mean, if you're gonna label it that, I think this is a guy's movie that like for breakups. I don't think this is a chick's movie like at all.
So,
Yeah,
well, I'm curious on a couple of points.
bring it.
One is what would you categorize it as, if not a rom-com?
I think it's a breakup movie, if
Well, I
that's
mean,
even a
but
subgenre. I mean, I'll allow that it's a subgenre of the romantic comedy, but I think it's a breakup movie. I think it's
okay,
like
I mean, I would accept that as like
yeah,
because I mean, there are lots of rom-coms that, like I said, don't have people getting together. So,
you know,
yeah, I would say calling breakup movies a subgenre of the rom-com is fair. That
okay.
makes sense to me.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I'll kind of gauge how the relationship's gonna go by how the woman reacts to what she's watching. And I
I
like to see their reaction.
I wonder how many women have said, "This is like our first like serious, date together. Why is he showing me a breakup movie?"
I'm sure they all thought that. And if they
I
didn't know
mean,
it was a red flag at first, they should have. God
to
bless.
be fair, I once had a friend who took a woman on their second date to Chinatown
Okay.
and then couldn't figure out why there wasn't a third date. And I was like,
Um
"It's a great movie, but that's not a second date movie."
Oh, the movie Chinatown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would do that. I would do that if the lady had expressed to me that she was either a film buff or a film noir buff. If she was either one of those and hadn't seen it, I would be like, because I would say Chinatown belongs easily in my top 10.
Mhm.
So if
Oh,
they
it's a
had told,
great movie.
yeah,
It's a
or
great
like maybe
movie.
they were said something like, I really, like Jack Nicholson is my favorite actor of all time. I might be like, well, have you seen Chinatown when he was really young? But yeah, no, I wouldn't just randomly show Chinatown to somebody.
No, she was not a noir film buff. She was not a film buff. He had just seen it and really liked it, so he thought that they would go see it for the second date, and then was really confused.
Okay.
And I laughed because I
As
was
you
like,
should. As you should.
that
So it's
was not a good choice.
no, it's not. So it's established pretty early on that whatever else we're going to agree on or disagree on, she's definitely portrayed, whether she is or she isn't, because that's you know questionable as well. Summer is definitely the manic pixie dream girl. Everywhere she goes, she brings light to the world, and she's very beautiful and very perky and very quirky, and she's all of these things. Guys turn their heads. The narrator makes a big
The
to
statistics were
do.
funny, by the way.
The statistics are pretty funny. Yeah, the how
They
much.
have her
Yeah,
as being average height and average weight, and the numbers they give are actually like 30 pounds under the average weight for women.
right, right.
And
I
her
well,
they
I
have
always thought it
her
was funny that the band is like, how come our record sales have gone up just because she gave a quote about our from one of our songs? It's like they really build her up. Now, obviously, none of that is real. Obviously, that's all like it's either one or two. It's either the movie giving us this manic pixie dream girl, you know, montage, or what some people suspect, it's this is how Tom sees her. So that's how it works. But she comes to work at the greeting card not factory, but greeting card business, along with, I guess this is like a Hallmark rip off or something like that. She comes to work there as an assistant, kind of just drifts in, drifts out. One of the telling things in the early montage is the fact that Tom has, I believe they I'm paraphrasing, Tom has a woeful understanding of the movie The Graduate,
Mhm.
a complete misreading of the context, and he's a hopeless romantic, and Summer, the only thing that she loves in the world is her long hair and how easily she can cut it off. Like right there, that tells you everything you need to know about our two protagonists.
I
Um,
did think that was a wonderful description for her,
right.
especially.
I
The
love my
his
hair, but I can cut it off very easily because I don't care.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because
Um,
I'm whimsical, you know.
I don't think it's a whimsical thing because they have her doing it as a kid, and I
Yeah,
think
I
the
think she's always been
implications
like that.
implication is supposed to be that that's how she deals with pain and her parents' separation, is that
Hmm,
her parents, and well, one assumes her father was probably cut off because that's how most marriages seem to go these days.
of course.
And that hurt, but she could cut her hair and it didn't hurt.
Hmm,
Um, there,
interesting.
I, there are a lot of women that when they have something really emotionally distressing happen, will go get a haircut
Okay.
because it's a reasonably harmless thing that you can do that makes you feel like you've made a sudden change, but it'll grow back.
Okay. Well, I'm at the stage in my life where I cut my hair and I'm wondering if I'm ever going to see it again. So there is that. My avatar does not look too dissimilar to what I look like in real life, just for the uninitiated. But which is why it's a pretty funny avatar. So Tom kind of has a crush on her, but basically just decides this is just another pretty girl that I'm just gonna be in her orbit and not really anything. But lo and behold, one random day in the elevator while listening to his music, Summer decides to engage in a conversation, saying that, "Are you listening to the Smiths?" "Yes, I am. I love the Smiths." Sings off key a little bit of a Smith song, and right then and there, Tom falls in love. So I'm gonna have to, if we're on a scoring basis, I'm gonna have to deduct some points away from Tom for that one. Because even on a rewatch, and even though I am Team Tom all the way, that's not good. It's not good, Tom. I don't know how old he's supposed to be in this. I'm imagining they're mid-20s, but even at mid-20s, you should not just be thinking that you're gonna, you know, meet the girl in the elevator and just fall in love like that. Although that actually does happen later on, but we'll get there.
Well,
So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say is that one of the things that frustrated me about, not to jump too far ahead, but one of the things that
yeah.
frustrated me is this whole movie seems to be about it's unrealistic to have these expectations of, you know, instant connection and, soulmates and all that sort of stuff, and yet ends up with her finding
Mm.
That instant connection, soulmate. I mean, if you do the math, it's what, 100 days or something like that between the time that she is reading a book in a cafe and some guy asks her about her book and she's married.
Yeah, about that. I mean, I think they established that it's just like a couple weeks after her and Tom have actually broken up, or less than a month anyways. I think I read that somewhere, that it's actually just less than a month that they're actually broken up. So yeah, it's one of those things where it calls into question, all the people that are summer defenders. It really calls into question everything that, like she represents. Like, people want to say, well, hey, she told him right off the bat, this is what I'm all about. This is my raison d'etre. This is my, my stance on life. Take it or leave it. And, the accusations that Tom, he didn't listen. So, that's his own fault, and, all that stuff. Okay, whatever, even if I'll allow that, the ending of the movie sort of, shits all over that theory, because then it's like, no, that's not what happens, So, it becomes a thing where, you kind of wonder, what else was she full of shit about? You know, uh,
I'll be interested to hear more about that when we get that far because I didn't see her as being full of shit, just not knowing herself very well.
oh no, she's so full of shit. Oh god, she's so full of shit. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how full of shit she is. Like, she's an evil, evil character.
I,
She's the devil. She
yeah,
is.
I sense you may have some personal what's the
Well,
word I'm
whether I
looking
do
for?
or I don't doesn't change the, you know, I can say
We
that
will we
I
will
can
get
say I
there.
personally don't think that, chopping up little ones with a lightsaber is, I feel like that's a bad thing, and that doesn't make the, me personally against Anakin Skywalker, but I know enough to know that, you don't kill a bunch of younglings with your lightsaber just because, you're trying to save your girlfriend from a miscarriage. So even I know that. But yeah, no, well, again, we'll get there. I'm gonna defend my position.
Hmm.
I don't want to just randomly, I have some really good points, and I hope that you'll at least be partially open to them. But anyway, so Tom, at this point, we're still kind of figuring out. I mean, we know that they're broken up from what we've watched, but it does flash backwards and shows kind of the inception of the relationship. His friend, who works in the cubicle, I guess, adjacent to him, I guess you would say, because it's not, I don't know if that's in front of him, behind him, side of him, whatever. But anyway, that's his work buddy and his personal friend, and they've known each other for a while. Probably you could headcanon he's the one that got him the job. Great wingman, also a terrible wingman, but you know, you can be both at the same time. Tells Tom, hey, we're going out and doing karaoke. He's not having it until he finds out that Summer is going to be at the karaoke jam. And in case this movie hasn't beat you over the head or shoved it down your throat enough, we get to see more manic pixie dream girl stuff with her singing cutely to her little show tunes up at
Did
the. Yeah, go ahead.
Wasn't there a section before this where
Oh, certainly.
he says it's over and everyone's like,
Before it begins.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah.
there wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
You never even asked her out, and he's like, I totally gave her plenty of chances.
Yeah. And he has the great scene where right after he says that, she walks up. I'm going to the supply room. You need anything? I think you know what I need. Try to be cool, and she just looks at him. It's like, toner would be good. I love that. I think that's extremely charming, because it's something that I could see a beta guy doing and not realizing how cringe he's actually being. Like, he thinks he's being like, he tried it. He tried to be cool and aloof and say something slick, and then all he did was like step on it or step in it. So I find that to be extremely. I'm really forgiving of a lot of stuff that Tom does. Like, I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's because she's so beautiful, and she's so with it, and she's definitely top tier. And he is, he's like, I mean, he's cute, and he's mildly funny, and charming when he wants to be, but I mean, he's basically just a dude. I mean, he doesn't have a lot going for him, and he usually probably just doesn't pull chicks like this. This is why I'm less forgiving of her shenanigans, just due to the fact that, like, she knows what power she has, and she knows how this is going to wind up. And so why would you do that to somebody? Even early on, where, they go outside, and he's established what I think is very great, like really good dialogue when they're in the restaurant, and they both kind of give each other their how they look at life. She says, we're young, we live in a beautiful city. I don't want to be anybody's girlfriend. I don't want to be anybody's anything. And I don't believe in love. It's a fairy tale, that's a silly statement to make. That is a silly statement. And I love his clapback on that, where he says, it's love, not Santa Claus. So I say right there, score one for him and take one off of her. What did you think about that scene?
Um, I had mixed feelings. One is I'm not sure how old they're supposed to be. If
I
they
think we can
aren't,
agree mid to late 20s. I think that would
well,
be
I
fair.
was I was gonna say, I mean, when I was in my mid-20s, this was pretty much my take. I did not believe, and I still don't believe in the kind of romance that he talks about. I believe in, the sort of more old-fashioned, what's the Waylon Jennings line? True love travels a graveled road. Um,
I must admit, I'm not the biggest Waylon Jennings fan. I will take your word for that.
um, I I believe in partnership. I believe in working together. I believe in that kind of love. I do not believe in soulmates. I never have.
Really?
Um, yeah. In fact, I loathe the word.
Really?
Yeah. Not even close. Especially considering the number of people who like will insist that every single partner they have is their soulmate.
Well, granted, that's certainly silly. Yeah, why that would definitely not. I would think that's a red flag that someone thinks everybody that they're with is their soulmate. I'm sure there's people who do that. I think I don't believe there's just the one. I think he's very naive to believe that. I don't think there's just a one for everybody. I think you can have a good connection with a great many people over your lifetime. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot, and you're definitely going to get, I think, with, someone that you have a real connection with. I think what it comes down to is you have a lot less than you think you do, but a lot more than you expect that you're going to have. If that makes sense. I think it can definitely be stated that, I think everybody when they're younger thinks they're going to have so many different chances to find a person that they're compatible with, that they love, that makes them feel happy, makes them feel good, stuff like that. And I think that it's definitely a situation where you're going to have a lot less than you think, but you might have more than you expect. Um,
But I
so
mean, I think that at 25, I don't think either attitude is terribly unusual. We'll go for 25 just because it's, a good round number.
I think
Um,
it'd be safe to say they're mid-20s. I would say that's pretty safe.
but I think that a lot of people at 25 go one way or the other. They're either very romantic or they're very not romantic. So I didn't think of that as a matter of points. I think they're simply opposite ends of the spectrum that's pretty common at 25. I mean, like I said, I certainly remember having her kind of attitude at 25.
You were just
Um,
breaking hearts, huh? Just ripping them up.
well, not hardly. Um,
No?
no. I just didn't believe in true romance, that's all.
And
Um,
has time not changed your out? Do you mind if I ask, are you in a relationship of some kind?
I got married, but not until I was 40.
Okay. I mean, that's
Um,
valid. That's certainly valid.
and I would in no way, shape, or form. I love my husband dearly, but I wouldn't call him my soulmate. I would call him my partner. Um,
Interesting.
and and I would not say that we are absolutely perfect for each other in every way, shape, or form because he drives me insane sometimes, and I'm sure I drive him insane sometimes. Um, I'm sure my insistence on accumulating huge numbers of animals and making him build fences for them definitely drives him insane.
As it should.
The ongoing joke in our house is, "I love you, honey. What did you buy and how much fence do I have to build?"
I think,
Um,
see, funny me, I think that that is the description of a perfect relationship. I think that I don't call someone my partner, certainly. I'm more like, she's my girlfriend, she's my fiance, she's my wife. Um, so
I
she's my
I
boo
loathe
thing, she's my babe, you know.
I loathe the word girlfriend once you get past a certain age too. It just seems
Really?
so well, it seems so childish.
Does it?
It does.
Hmm.
Um, that and the fact that you get into issues like when you get older and you start getting into more adult things like if somebody gets sick and ends up in the hospital. Um, then if you go in and say, if somebody's in intensive care and you go in and say, I want to see so and so, I'm their girlfriend, they're not going to let you in.
Okay.
Uh, if you go in and say that that you're the spouse, then yes, they'll let you in.
Uh-huh.
Um, but you use the word girlfriend and they will not let you into an intensive care unit. I think we sort of need other words for things like that, because intensive care is family and partners only. If you go in and say so and so is my partner, there's like a 50-50 chance as to whether or not you're getting through the door.
Okay.
um, so I think that I mean, certainly time has changed in a lot of ways from when I was 25 as to my outlook on things, but only that I think at 25 there were a lot of, realities of the real world and adulting that I hadn't sort of hit yet. Um, that, like certainly if there are things I could never have worked through when I was 25 with my husband. Um, I didn't have the patience, I didn't have the maturity, and neither did he. um, and I know this for a fact because we met over 20 years ago. Um, and dated briefly and it didn't work. And then we re-met up 20 years later.
I think that's one of the best ways, though. My most recent, who is now kind of on again, off again, we're cooling it off a little bit. We met 10 years ago. Just kind of danced around it. She had things going on, I had things going on, and then now in this past summer we reconnected and made a relationship. Now we're kind of cooling it off a little bit, but I mean, I still care about her, still spend time with her. I was at her place last night. So,
Mhm.
instead of working on this like I should have been. But I think that's the best kind. I think the lady doth protest too much.
Well, I'm just saying, I do know for a fact that when I was 25, there were lots of things we would not have been able to work through because we were 25 together and couldn't work through things. So that was all I was saying was that, there's a very different outlook on patience and, how time kind of gets the better of you sort of thing.
Okay.
Um,
I wanted to show something really quick and get your take on this scene. This is early in the movie, and it's also early in the burgeoning relationship between Tom and Summer after they've gotten his drunken friend into the cab, who shows himself to be kind of maybe not the best wingman, because he just blurts out, oh, he likes you, and does the whole teenage thing, and they have their first real conversation about anything.
You're amazing. This was so much fun. You guys are so much better. Wait, hey.
What's up?
Not you. You. He likes you.
Okay. Good night, Mackenzie.
Likes you. Why don't you just tell her, Tom?
So not the best way that you want that to come out. That actually happens a couple times in the story where one of his friends accidentally says something that they shouldn't have said within her earshot, and it has varying results. So right off the rip, she gets a pretty good idea of, hey, this guy, whatever else his protestations are, he does in fact like me, which no shocker to her. I'm sure she's got guys falling all over her all the time. And, it's kind of confirmed right here with that. So
the friend was literally falling over her.
literally, yeah, Mackenzie's obviously known to do that. And I mean, I think he's a good friend throughout the course of the movie. He's supportive when Tom is going through the lusty, smitten part. He's supportive when he's dating her. He's supportive when Tom breaks up with her. Hey, did you get her back yet? He's even supportive when Tom has his crash out at work saying that the greeting card thing is a bunch of BS and they shouldn't be doing it, yada, yada, yada. I think he's just generally a good friend as far as that goes. But let's play the rest of it.
Sorry, never seen that. Happens every time we come here. I don't know, something about that guy and singing.
Is that true?
Yeah, he drinks and he sings and he just
No,
loses his shit.
Not Mackenzie. The other thing?
What thing?
Do you like me?
Yeah, of course I like you.
As friends?
Right, as friends.
Okay, so points against Tom here and red flag. I feel like he should have said something different. I don't think that he should have gone along with her narrative. I realize that there's a, disparagement between how good looking and, whatever she is, but I don't think that he should have went with bullshit, playing along into the whole, but again, I mean, we're going to find out later that her whole worldview isn't really true anyways. So maybe he was thinking along those lines. What's your thoughts here?
So first of all, I think you underestimate how attractive most women think that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is.
I don't. I think he's extremely attractive. I find him to be utterly attractive. I'd date him.
You keep saying that, he's not at her level. I think most women would disagree with that. Now, interestingly, I would not. Again, not my type.
And that's fair.
But a lot of women really do seem to think that he is just the cat's meow.
As they should. However, in this, just to clarify, in this universe, he's not Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's Tom.
I get that, but that doesn't change his looks.
I mean, it does though. It does, because in this universe, he's not. If he's not exactly a schlub, he's definitely not in any way like an alpha male, which is probably. I mean, I have a theory, and you can we'll get to it, but I have a theory of who I think she actually got married to, that you might find kind of funny since you just watched the movie. But go ahead, finish your thought, please.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't really consider either of them the villain. I consider both of them to be very passive aggressive, and I consider them both to have really terrible communication skills.
That's true. Both of those things are true, but those things can be true, and the thing that I am saying can be true as well.
I think that they are doing all the dumb things that 25-year-olds do.
I also think that that's true. However, once you know that she pretty much holds all the power here, looking back on this, I definitely think that he would have been better off, but that's my personal, like, I always tell the truth. Always. So, even if it makes me look bad, damn the consequences. Life is too short to BS around. So I would have just told her right off. I was like, you know what? No, I don't subscribe to your theory. I think we both disagree, and I'm kind of smitten by you. I have no problem doing that. I've done it many times, and usually my results are pretty good. But let's finish it out.
Just as friends?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, I hadn't really thought about, yes. Why?
No reason, I think you're interesting, and I'd like for us to be friends. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's, yeah, you and me, we should be friends.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Look at him. Look at this boy. she knows what she's doing here. She knows the effect that she has on him, and she knows what he's doing. He's stated previously of his stance that he does believe in love. He is a romantic. I mean, obviously she doesn't know everything about him, but you know, come on.
But she does double check to say, like, just as friends, like.
But I don't think that was a real double check. And I'll tell you why in the very next slide, how that opinion is smashed. So the next day, they're in the copy room, and she just plants one on him. And
Yeah, she definitely wants to be friends with benefits. I don't think there's any question of that.
Right. And look at him. He's done. I get sick to my stomach every time I watch this scene because it hurts me knowing that's we had a theory. So we jump ahead in time again in the movie, and we see that we're at 300 days. We're past the breakup stage, which is bad because that's like we know there's 500 days of summer, so this is bad. That's not. So we know there's more than another 180 days is 6 months, right? So we know there's another 6.5 months of this. Is that right?
Well,
no, that can't be right. Is that right?
The thing that I found interesting about this is that if they break up around the 300-day mark or whatever it is, he basically spends almost as long as they were together.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
pining over her
for sure.
And only quits because he meets the next girl he decides is his soulmate.
Well, I have something to say about that. I'm not sure that part's true, but isn't the math logic on that it's like twice as long as however the relationship was for you to get over the person? Don't they say that?
I have no idea. I don't remember ever hearing that, but
oh, okay. Well, you being a very non-romantic, you probably don't subscribe to that at all.
To what? Getting over people?
Yeah. You wouldn't have fallen for them in the first place, right?
Well, see, here I think is where we differ the most, is that the word love is one of the most non-definitive terms in the English language. Like most other languages, there's, love between parent and child. There's love between, like I love you like a brother. There's romantic love. English is one of the very few languages where there's just this one term that encompasses like a ridiculous amount of territory. Like, I don't love my dog the same way I love my husband, and yet it's the only word that we have. And I think one of the issue where these two get in trouble, where many people get in trouble, is that if I say I love you and the other person says I love you too, that doesn't mean we're talking about the same thing. And so, I mean, she never says I love you. She says I like you. She's very clear about that through the whole movie. And I've forgotten where I was going with that.
Well, I guess you.
I mean, I have loved all of my long-term partners.
Okay.
I have only been in love with 2. I guess that's the best way I can phrase it.
I think love is where you care more about the other person and their happiness than you do about yourself.
And see, that's really interesting because if you actually look at most relationships, love actually makes you intensely self-centered and egotistical.
Does it?
It does. If you look at most, what most people call love, it's that you are intensely happy and you do not want that feeling to go away. It's not about the other person. It's about you. I don't want you to leave because I will be unhappy. That is what most people call love.
Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree. What's your thoughts on what we're seeing here where we're looking at some of the good times that they're having? Is this just friendship? Because I've got friends, I've even got female friends, and I don't do these things with them.
I mean, they're definitely into friends with benefits territory here.
Mm.
And I know people that do the friends with benefits thing, and I know some that are even mutual in their friends with benefitness. And yeah, I mean, basically what they do is they do everything that a romantic partnership would do, except with the understanding that it's not really going to be long term and it's not going to go anywhere.
Hmm.
It's basically I don't want to be alone, so until something better comes along. And it usually ends badly, as this one does.
I'm not even sure if it ends badly, really.
I mean, it
But
definitely ends with hurt feelings. We'll put it that way.
sure. So at a certain point, they have connected, and even though she still gives the whole, it's a casual type relationship thing. They wind up going to bed together, having little cutesy dates at IKEA. And this is the face of a man that is in love and getting to have sex with the woman that he is in love with. Nothing can knock him down, nothing can go wrong. This is how you feel after that day. Have you never had this feeling before of almost complete and
This
utter,
made me laugh. That made me
yeah,
laugh out loud.
yeah,
That Han Solo thing.
a Han Solo thing? I've had
So
days
uh,
like this where nothing can be wrong. I love the visual here where everybody's sort of got some blue in it because she has the blue eyes and there's like a hue of blue in the background, so it's almost like, and this is all he sees. Now obviously this is not real, but this is
well,
how he's going through his day after they've slept together.
I was going to say it is very important to remember that he is absolutely not a reliable narrator
No,
through
no.
all of this. So in scenes where you say, look at him, it's really obvious what's going on. It's obvious to him, but he is not a reliable narrator. And this entire thing is from his perspective.
Yeah.
We see his emotions because we're seeing things from his point of view. I'm pretty sure that she also did not see the marching band.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I don't. Yeah, this was just for him. It was this grand, epic gesture. This culmination of I've had a crush on this chick for months. We finally hooked up, and it's everything that I want it to be. For her, it was probably just an average Wednesday.
can
'Cause
you do you have the ability to just back this up to the beginning of the that scene?
sure.
Because I'll tell you what I saw when I saw this.
What
Not
did you?
not this, but when he walks out the door,
Oh, okay. When he's all satisfied with himself.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have to yeah, here we go. I saw Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man. Oh, the dance montage thingy. Yeah. No.
Where he's doing the cocky walk and
Sure.
everyone's looking at him like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Pardon my
Yeah.
language.
No. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so he is not a reliable narrator, and that makes me wonder if instead of everyone else shaking his hands, if really what's going on is they're looking at him going, "What is up with you?"
Almost certainly. Almost certainly you are 100% correct on that one. Almost certainly. But again, that doesn't diminish the fact that, he feels, good. What's wrong with feeling good? What's wrong with vibing with somebody? And then, I don't see the problem with that. I think that's awesome. I think it's one of the few things in life, uh, worth living, that makes life worth living. But as
I'm
their
not
little situationship progresses, very soon after this in the chronological narrative, she's sort of cooling things off, and they have their first big to do. I think this is the big scene that follows that. I'd like to get your take on it. This is nearing, if you're keeping score, this is nearing the end of where they're at. They're out for a drink. It's
is
very
this
obvious.
I
Go
thought
ahead.
this was like several months after that fact.
I mean, it was at least a few months after that, but I mean, in the narrative, they don't give a. I mean, we don't get to see the entire progression of of the relationship. They kind of just jump around in time. But as far as this is pre going out to the movies breakup thing, I mean, they do make up after this. By the way, this is my big fan theory. This guy right here, Captain Dude Bro, I think this is the guy she married. I think she married this guy.
I don't, because she is so utterly disgusted by him.
Yeah, but
I mean, one of the reasons that she's mad at Tom after this is for acting like this guy. And what
did
she
he
likes
act like this guy?
He totally did act like this guy.
Really? So if we were on a date and some guy got out of pocket and just wouldn't take no for an answer, you'd be against me pacing the floor with him?
Except that's not when he punches the guy. He punches the guy when the guy insults him.
Ooh, that's interesting.
He says it was for her, but he punches him when he says, "I can't believe this guy is your boyfriend."
She may not have married this guy, but this is the kind of guy she almost certainly married. Look at her face. She's digging this.
No, she's not. You are absolutely reading that body language wrong if you think that. I spent 24 years reading body language for a living. She is absolutely not into this.
Well, I'll tell you a little tale about wifey number 3 was a junior enlisted soldier at Fort Stewart. First thing she said to me was, "Hey, Sergeant Toxic, I heard about your reputation. Just want to let you know that I'm gay. So that's not going to happen." I'm like, "Great. We can go out to bars and pick up chicks together.
Pick up women together, yeah."
And a week later, we were kissing. And a week after that, we were in bed together. And a month after that, we were married. So
I'm not saying that there aren't women like that. There absolutely are. But the point is supposed to be that she's very not into that, and that what she's mad about with him is that he proceeded to try to, match the guy alpha dork for alpha dork.
Well, that's fair, and I do think you're right. I think he insulted Tom, and that's why Tom clocked him. That being said,
if the guy had groped her and Tom had clocked him, I don't think she'd be pissed.
Okay. Well, that being said, they do have their little blow up. He acts kind of like a butthole, and he leaves. And he is tempted to call her, but he does not. And she gets up in the middle of the night and goes over to his house. So clearly she's, the one that's wanting to keep this going. The Losers Lounge and I just decided this is the kind of woman that likes to steal your energy. She likes to take everything that you've got and play with you like a cat does a little ball of string until she's bored with you and throws you away.
I don't think that's true. Because she says in the very beginning that one of the reasons she does not get involved with people is that she's not good with hurt feelings.
Then why did she go back to his house after they had that flare up?
Because she's not good with hurt feelings. She feels
that's awfully convenient.
That is another, especially in young women. That is, and again, when I was 25, I had a great weakness for wounded birds.
That's not a big surprise.
I wanted to fix things. And that is a real common, especially in people who are, I mean, she's part of a divorced parent. She obviously didn't take it very well. That's supposed to be a defining point of her character. Fixing things is probably what she does. And that's probably what takes her so long to go over there. She's like, I shouldn't go over there and fix it. But she does. And I think that that's a terrible move. I don't think she should have gone over. But I also think that when I was 25, I probably would have. That doesn't mean it's not a dumb thing to do. But being dumb is not the same thing as being a demon.
Well, I'll say this. I think that there was plenty of chances for her to realize her mistake, that this guy is not feeling the same way that she is feeling. And especially after that, where he declares, I think that we should be a couple, then she should have been like, look, Tom, this ain't we're obviously on two different paths. Let's cut it off. But she doesn't, and she goes back. Why? Because she hasn't monkey branched at this point and hasn't grabbed on and secured something else.
Well,
I
he
think
doesn't.
that
I
go
don't
ahead.
think so. He doesn't give her the chance to say, this isn't what I want. He basically says, we both have a say in this, and I say we're a couple, and then he walks out. And
Right,
she
but then
goes
she goes
over.
back. But then she goes back, and she doesn't go back to say, "Hey, that was really uncool what you did walking out. I have a say in this. I don't think it's fair for you to press your ideals onto me." She comes over and says, "I'm sorry," and I think it's
She
because she
well,
has
she says
not.
she's sorry. She's sorry for yelling at him, but she continues to say, "I can't give you, he says I want consistency, and she says, I can't give you that. No one can."
I do like that line. I think that's a great line. I don't think in fact, he's not even asking. I'll do you one better. I will do you one better and concede this point. He doesn't even ask for consistency. He asks for like a promise that she's just, I think the exact line is, how do I know one day you're just gonna wake up and just not be into it anymore and just leave? I can't have that. And she's like, I can't promise you any different. Nobody can. And I think he's wrong for expecting that. And I think she was right in explaining life to him. However, her life experience has not been his life experience. She has had the chance to have these flings. She's never, ever, ever been without someone to be around. This is where I come out on this.
I don't think
Guys,
that's true. She says that she's not someone's girlfriend and doesn't want to be someone's girlfriend and hasn't been someone's girlfriend for a
she has
while.
the choice. She has the choice. He
True.
does not.
True.
Women can never be celibate, involuntarily celibate. Men are incels the world over. Even good-looking guys like him can be incels if they don't have enough game or enough status or something like that. Listen, this part's not debatable. Women, there's no woman on earth that can't secure something.
Attractive men are not
There
going to
are
be. They
attractive
may not.
men that are incels, for sure. For sure.
There's something real wrong then, because
I know there's something wrong.
I'm
In
not
fact,
saying they're not in relationships. There are definitely men who are not in relationships.
no, there's
But if
men that are exactly like him, his looks, his job status, and more importantly, his height, because younger women, not you, but younger women are like obsessed this day and age. Women in their 20s today are obsessed with you being 6'5". If you're
and I
not six,
totally don't understand that, because I have dated really tall men and it
sure.
sucks.
I've dated, well, of course it sucks because they are dating all of the women, but women have become obsessed with that in the last decade or so, where if you aren't at least 6 feet, they won't even look in your direction. And he's 5'7" if he's an inch.
It's
So,
it's ridiculous though, just from a practice. So I'm 5'1". I dated a guy who was 6'4". Just like, it was miserable just to kiss him.
Yeah.
I do not understand the fascination
Well,
with it.
because you're
It
not,
makes no
because
sense.
God bless you, you're not a 20-year-old girl.
I've
lived
never
off of TikTok.
understood. I've never understood it though.
Yeah, but you're from a
It's just
different
so.
era. You're from a different era. Listen, I don't understand it either. I didn't even know it was a thing until recently. I myself am only 5'10". My dad was 6'4". I was always confused how my dad was pulling the kind of people he pulled when he was such a scumbag. But it was because he was 6'4". My sister got all the height in the family for some weird reason, but that's never bothered me. I've dated and even married women that are taller than me because my charisma, everything that I've got, extends past my height. The only time I run into a real serious problem is when I start getting complacent. I start treating women the way they should be treated, and I stop playing the head games and all that stuff. That's the only time I really run into a problem, is when I get into the point where I'm like, okay, things are nice, things are good, things are comfortable. Now I can relax and do the things I want to do, like cook dinner, buy her flowers, treat her nice. And then when I fall in, then all of a sudden they start cooling things off because women demand chaos. Women want chaos and corruption and
Some women
most
definitely do.
most.
And they're crazy bitches and should be avoided at all cost.
Well, and guess which tier Summer falls into.
But
So
see, I think Summer is too young to have that kind of
When
consciousness
does she
about
become
it.
if she's too young, when does she become accountable for her actions? What is the age limit? 30? 40? 50?
I don't think it's a specific
It's
age thing.
specific enough that you say she's too young.
She acts too young.
Interesting. Well, more evidence to her. So they've been broken up for a little while, and Tom gets tricked into going to the wedding of one of their former coworkers. And because Summer was also friends, at this point they've been separated, aren't even speaking for several months. And they meet on the train, and lo and behold, what does she do? He sees her, decides to leave her alone, as he should, and she approaches him.
Did he? I missed that. I thought
No,
she
she
just came up
approaches
to him.
him.
No. I missed the fact that he saw her. That's what
No, he saw her and tucked down into his seat. And then very badly tries to pretend like he didn't see her. And I think she realizes that too. But because she's like, oh, cool, more energy for me to suck off. Now, keep in mind, at this point, she has met and started dating and sleeping with the guy that she eventually marries. We find out later. At this point in the narrative, she has met, started dating, and more than likely sleeping with the guy that she will eventually marry, which is not Tom. May not be Dude Bro from the bar, but it's one of those. They
Yeah, I
have their
will say my least favorite point in this is when he says, "Why did you dance with me?" And she says, "Because I wanted to."
right.
And he said, "You just do what you want to, don't you?"
Yeah.
And
Of course he does.
that's quite kind of what I mean when I say she acts young.
No, she acts like
She's
what she is, which is the bad guy, and she's a psychopath, at least a sociopath. She is
No,
just
because I mean, half the reason that she keeps going back to him is that she feels bad for him.
no, half the reason she keeps going back for him is because he is a source of energy and
But see, you don't actually have any basis for that except for how you feel.
that's
At
not
least
true.
not from what you've presented so far.
That's not true. I do have it. All you
Okay.
have to do is witness what she does, and more importantly, what she does next. So they're at the wedding, and lo and behold, she catches the bouquet. Oh boy, there's some foreshadowing right there, isn't it? And yeah, they dance together, and they have I am someone who tries to stay cool with my exes. Um, Less so because I try to be altruistic, but more so because you always want to be able to sleep with them again if you can. So I'm a big believer
See,
in
that's entertaining. My husband and I stayed friends with the ex I dated before him and his new girlfriend, and we used to double date.
yeah, I am totally secure in that. In fact, after I second wife and I came home from Iraq, I let her move into my apartment, and we used to go out all the time. People be like, "Oh, how long you guys been together?" And we're like, "We're divorced. We're not even together anymore." What's your
No,
thoughts on this right here?
I mean, she fell asleep, so
She fell
I
asleep.
know how he's taking it,
Hmm.
but I mean, people falling asleep on each other on trains and stuff is kind of an ongoing joke.
Is it? Hmm.
See,
Well,
you're looking very hard to put in far there's a line somewhere that says why oh, what is the quote? Why ascribe
malice to indifference or something like that.
no. Why ascribe um malice and conspiracy when stupidity answers it so much more easily?
Because I simply don't believe that Summer is stupid, and I don't believe she is unaware of what it is that she's doing or the effect that she has, and she even states so
I
in the
think
movie.
they're both emotionally immature and emotionally stupid.
All right. Well,
See, the
let's get
problem
to
is
what
you and I are both past the age where this sort of stuff, at least I hope, this sort of stuff would ever happen. Actually, I take
I'm
that back
not.
because I
I'm
was going to
not.
say I do know people who kind of never mature past this point, which
Yeah.
but then I know people that, never mature period, so
Yeah. That's
but
me. I'm the second one.
but for people who, you know, kind of get into adulting, um you kind of grow out of this sort of foolish craziness. I mean, I would never break dishes over a breakup. You know, I might mourn and be drunk for a day, but yeah, the broken dishes thing. Oh, by the way, I do want to say, just because she hasn't come up yet, the sister is the best character in this movie.
Funny you say that. I'm glad you brought that up because
and the most mature.
I agree with both of those statements, but there's someone who disagrees. And hopefully I've got permission to use this. So I mean, I'm sure they're going to let me slide.
In the early or the mid 2000s, Chloe Grace Moretz, her big thing was like this. She's a 40-year-old woman in a 12-year-old's body.
Hit girl.
She called Tom her best friend.
I've heard, this is what happens. Chloe Moretz Grace is what happens when a young actress is into getting molested.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
She's gonna her career
Yikes.
right up.
Yikes. Holy shit. Holy shit.
I felt my
You're
reels
into
already.
getting Weinstein, and Lawrence, and these other actresses. You're gonna get Oscars and shit. Allegedly.
Wow.
We took a week already. Jesus Christ.
I don't even know.
I don't like
what
this
to
bitch.
say.
I don't like this little sister because she helped like fucking Me Too Louis C.K. She like renounced the film that he directed that she starred in.
Oh, really?
That was a good
I didn't know
movie.
that. I didn't know that.
When he got Me Too, she like denounced the film and demanded it not be released and shit.
Oh.
What a little cunt.
So that's that was Stupendo's take.
Disliking the actress and disliking the character are very different things.
I mean, I don't even think he has a really good reason to dislike the actress. I mean, if she is the opinion that Louis C.K. is a creep, I don't think I mean, obviously that's exaggerated point that he made, but I
dislike Emma Watson and her stance on Rowling after Rowling made her famous.
Sure.
That doesn't mean I dislike all of her acting roles.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get it. I agree with you. I think that the sister is the well, obviously, I mean, you heard my words there. I think she's the most mature person in the film. I love her lines. I mean, I don't think there's anything that she says to him or even in general that isn't completely based. You know, some of it's a little more overly clever that a 12-year-old may know, but then again, you might have been a 12-year-old like that. So who's to say? I know my sister's the person that I go to, my younger sisters who I go to for advice and things like this. Not always great advice, but I mean, my sister's very similar to kind of your mindset in the way it is. She laughs at me for being such a hot-headed romantic all the time. As well she should, because it is silly and immature to be a romantic in this day and age. So in the narrative, go ahead.
The thing that confused me is, how old do you think she's supposed to be in this?
12. Wait, who? Summer or Chloe or the sister?
The sister.
12. I would say 12, probably.
So if he's 25, if we assume he's 25,
sure,
and his parents are divorced,
which
he says at one point they are. She's either a half sister, or maybe was born immediately after the divorce.
I mean, it could be either one. I don't look at that weirdly.
I mean, that's a huge. No, I mean, I have friends that were kind of late in life surprise babies to their parents.
My father has 7 kids.
Huge difference.
My father has 7 kids from 6 different marriages and 6 different women. So I have a bunch of half brothers and sisters. So I don't think that's weird.
I'm just thinking the implication is they are the only 2 siblings.
May very well be, but I mean,
and that's a very big. If there were more siblings in between, it wouldn't be weird. But the fact that they seem to be the only 2, and there's that big an age difference, is kind of bizarre. It's unusual anyway.
I'll also tell you that me and my sister are the only ones that are none of the brothers are in contact with us, and none of the brothers are in contact with her, except through like social media. So,
well, what I'm wondering is maybe they're supposed to be even younger than we're assuming they are.
That's awesome.
Summer and Tom.
May be.
This was during a period where Hunger Games. She's I'm having a brain spaz.
Jennifer Lawrence?
I was trying to remember the character's name, but for Jennifer Lawrence is the only thing I could come up with. She's supposed to be 15 or 16 in that book. Jennifer Lawrence was 22 when she played the part.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I'm not debating that. They do that all the time. So yeah, I mean, it could be any number of things or all of those things, but I 100% agree with you that the younger sister is definitely tries to be as much as she can the voice of reason, and I don't think any of the things that she says to him are in any way inaccurate, and I think they're in fact quite the opposite. I think everything that she says to him is incredibly based, but he does not heed her warning. He only finally heeds her advice near the end when she tells him to look back on some of the things with like different eyes to kind of see what happens. But in the middle of the film and in the narrative, after he has spent the afternoon with her at the wedding, she decides to ask him, would you like to come to a party? Oh, this is a big I'm excited to hear your defense of this malarkey. So she asks, will you come to a party at my house next week? And we have the beautifully crafted and stunningly amazing expectations versus reality scene, which I will play for you now.
Walked to her apartment, intoxicated by the promise of the evening.
It's also the narrator has been absent through most of this film at this point. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on this scene? Do you find it to be as brilliant as I do, or is it kind of overrated?
The expectations versus reality.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting take. I wasn't sure how to take it, considering we already know he's an unreliable narrator.
Well, I think this proves it. I think this proves that he's an unreliable neighbor because we get to see
most of this movie has proven it. So
yeah.
the song and dance number, if nothing else,
sure,
the song and dance number made it very clear. I thought it was a great look at the fact that how do I say this? Like, he already is getting angry and disappointed that things aren't going the way he thought they were going to go, and that she's not obsessed with paying attention to him even before he realizes she's wearing a ring. I'm not sure how he missed the ring this entire time either. I mean, he sees it from across the room, but didn't see it repeatedly when they were really up close.
I mean, to be fair, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I wonder, I do have to wonder if there's a certain amount of like, how did you not know I was engaged? I'm like wearing a ring.
Yeah.
Interesting thing, I just looked up. So Zoe was in her 20s when she did 500 Days of Summer, though I can't seem to find out exactly how old she was. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was 37.
Nuh-uh. Really?
That's what it says. He was 37 when he played Tom in the 2009 movie 500 Days of Summer.
That cannot be right. I didn't even think he was 37 now.
He does have kind of a baby face, doesn't he?
Was he 30? Because then that would make him older than me. You're not going through Chat GPT, are you? Because I've heard they've been having problems.
Well, I'm looking at the actual article.
Well, now I have to
just to be on the safe side, because AI does tend to suck sometimes. So he is 44 now. Math. Minus.
Well, if he's 44 now, he couldn't have been 37 in 2008.
Well, that's why I said I'm double checking, because it's sometimes.
So we'll just do the math. If he was born in 1981 and the movie came out in 2009, was made in 2008. What's 2008 minus 1981?
Wait, say that again.
If the movie was made in 2008, premiered in 2009, and he was born in 1981, then what is 2008 minus 1981?
Yeah, according to this, he was 28, which makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So mid to late 20s, as I said.
Well, but the reason I was looking it up was I was thinking that if they tend to cast, 5 years older or something, then that might have early 20s might be more realistic.
Yeah. But
I really want to know how old she was, though.
he goes into a spiral after the engagement party, as well he should, and as well she knew that that was going to happen to him. There's no way she didn't know that that was going to have that effect. And I think she drew energy from that. I think she's one of those energy suckers that just loves to just destroy a man. I think that makes her. Why would you invite your ex, who so clearly still has feelings for you, to your engagement party? Please tell me why this is okay. I got to hear your reasoning here.
What makes you think it was the engagement party?
What other party was it? It wasn't an Easter egg hunt. It was she's announcing her engagement to everybody. She is showing the ring off.
I know this is drastic, but sometimes people just throw parties to throw parties.
I think it's pretty definitive that that's the engagement party, even if it wasn't.
I actually have never heard of doing such a thing as an engagement party.
Oh yeah, it's very common.
Really?
Yeah. I can't tell if you're being serious or if you're just evading the. If you're
no, I have
accountability here.
I literally have never heard of anyone throwing a party to announce their engagement.
It's very common. It's extremely common.
Well, not up here in the boonies, it didn't.
All right. Well, fair enough.
No, I did not. I didn't take it as an engagement because the only person she shows the ring off to is that one woman. So I just assumed it was just a standard party. My thought.
Let's assume it was. Let's assume that it was. Why? She's engaged to this other dude. Why are you bringing your ex? Now, granted, you and I have a little more laissez-faire attitude about that. We're secure enough in our thing, but most people are not. You have to grant that most people are not cool with stuff like that. Why would you bring your ex that was totally head over heels in love with you to this party after you're engaged to this other dude who I would presume was probably at the party? I mean, maybe he wasn't, but whether he was or he wasn't, it's not super relevant.
So that's the other reason that an engagement party never occurred to me, because you do not see her hanging out with a specific guy. And no. You don't see it seems like an engagement party would involve the two of them getting together and actually announcing.
Maybe.
My assumption on first watch was that, because my first watch as this is leading up is, I bet she's like either married or engaged or something.
And you were right.
And my thought was that she was going to introduce him to the boyfriend, fiance.
I mean, maybe that was the plan, and it just didn't get to that point because he saw what he saw and decided to haul ass.
I thought maybe the guy just didn't show for the party.
Could be that. Maybe he was held up in traffic. Maybe he was in business. Maybe he was busy getting punched out at a bar because he's the dude bro that from the earlier scene.
because again, you don't see her with someone specific. So my assumption when I watched it was that she invited him to introduce him to the new guy, because he obviously had not found closure.
No. It's debatable whether or not he ever really does.
I don't think he does, because he just appears to relationship hop. I mean, the other thing to remember is that at the very beginning of this, when he's breaking plates, they say this is just like whatever the last.
Yeah. This is just like the other thing.
Yeah. So he apparently is one of those guys who insists that, or believes that every relationship is his soulmate, because
I think
the sister has gone through this before. His friends have gone through this before.
Sure.
He just seems to get really attached and then just fall apart and be unable to function.
I think that that's accurate, and I would not argue against it. Although I think by the end of this narrative, I think there is a change in that, and we'll get to it, and I'll explain my position. So,
Mhm.
obviously, Tom goes into a bit of a spiral, quits his job. He's eating Twinkies and drinking liquor during the day. We've all been there. Can't stand the
No,
sight of other
no, I
people.
haven't.
All right, well, the rest of us mere mortals have been there. The sight of even a slightly happy couple is enough to enrage him to lash out in public while he's walking around in his slippers and his robe.
I was going to say I have never gotten to the point where I have left the house in my bathrobe because I was.
I've done far worse. Far worse. And so Summer shortly thereafter getting married. I'm not comfortable being anybody's anything. I certainly don't believe in marriage until I do, and everything I said means nothing. Let me hear your defense here. Come on. Let's hear it.
People sometimes just realize they're wrong.
Oh, okay. Fascinating.
I mean,
Fascinating. Man, I would have given anything for them to turn and show the guy, and he's the dude bro guy from the bar. That would have made the whole movie for me.
I would be really disappointed in her if that was. I mean, I'm disappointed in her anyway. I would be more disappointed in her if that was the case.
Eventually,
so
go ahead.
when my husband and I got engaged, the thing I said is, I have never cared about getting married. I do care about marrying him.
Okay.
And I think part of the issue is that there are a lot of women now who they just want to get married.
I agree.
And I think maybe the implication is supposed to be that Summer doesn't care about relationships. She cared about a relationship with that guy.
I think that's probably also accurate. It's funny how you're kind of proving my point for me, though. Because it's like, whatever else you think, what right did she have to run Tom through this? You can say whatever choice and yada, yada, yada. But
I don't think she ran him through anything.
Clearly she did.
She was honest with him about what she wanted from their relationship. He repeatedly lied to her about what he wanted from the relationship.
Did he lie, or did he just say just enough to keep the conversation going and have hope that maybe she would one day change her mind and be that girl that does want to get married?
So what you're saying is that he's the chick in this movie saying, "Oh, I can change her."
I think that would be pretty accurate. Yeah, I think I think it's okay for guys to be that guy. I don't subscribe to it, but I do know that like wifey number 3. No, I'm only into chicks, and then we wound up married a month and a half later. So I mean, I think that you can't believe what most women say because they don't know what they want at any given time. Women act on emotion; they don't act on logic. And men are problem solvers. Listen, you can decree all to me that you like, that you are different and you are a unicorn, and I won't even argue the fact that that's not true, because the evidence that I've seen so far in working with you, I think that's probably true. I think you are the kind of woman that says what she means and means what she says. I believe that. I 100% believe you on that.
Actually, what I was going to say is I would not disagree with that with all women, but the reason I am the way I am is because I have been lucky enough to be surrounded by lots of very strong women that were capable of balancing emotion and logic. And I have known a lot of men who are very, very emotional. Anger is an emotion.
Exceptions do not prove the rule.
Oh no, I totally understand that. But I mean, it's like I saw there was a Twitter the other day where somebody was saying women shouldn't be allowed to vote because they
pick the wrong man.
They vote on emotion.
Yep.
Except there have been a ton of studies that show that everyone votes on emotion.
Incorrect.
The science begs to differ.
Well, incorrect. So and I feel like you're only saying that because you are going off of your emotions.
Okay. As opposed to, actual research studies.
Men are problem solvers. They deal in logic. Women deal in emotion. Men suppress emotion. Women express emotion. Women put value on being involved in the problem, men put value in coming up with a solution.
When you
Many
can
times,
when you can show me research that proves that, I'm willing to accept your argument.
I mean, listen, I can't
As
show you.
opposed, I
I
mean,
can't show you research right now that proves that the Earth is round and not flat. But I mean,
I could.
Okay.
If you gave me 5 minutes on Google.
Yeah. I mean, you can find just as much material on Google that'll tell you that it's flat, though, too. I
You
think at the end
can't
of the day, you have to go.
cannot no, you
Yeah.
cannot find actual research papers that say that the Earth is flat. You can find actual independent scientific research that says it's round.
Well, I
And
agree with you that it is round. I've actually been someone who has been up in outer areas and been on satellite photos and seen
Mhm.
seen satellite, makeups of different things. So I know that it's round, but I don't think that I could argue against somebody who is so down the road of thinking that the Earth is flat. Just as I don't think that I can go down the road and make you believe that in majority, women will defer towards emotion more than they will towards logic and facts. Women don't want their problems solved. They want to express to their partner that there is a problem and for the partner to sympathize and empathize and be in the moment of the problem with them and hear them out so that they can discuss it. This is why therapy is designed for women and not designed for men. Men would only go to therapy for a certain amount of time and they want their issue solved, whereas women could conceivably go for their whole lives. So, and be completely
that would be the
satisfied.
difference between psychoanalysis and CBT. CBT
Okay.
is far more useful and far more short term and is about solving problems.
Hmm. Well,
And is in my mind the far more useful therapy.
I mean, at the end of the day, you don't listen to what a woman says. You watch how she moves. You listen to her actions. And Summer's words were very definitive.
I would argue that that's true for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, how many men, I mean, it's one of the noted things for male on female intimate partner violence that there is a pattern of them hitting their partner and then saying,
Right.
"Oh, I'm really sorry."
See, now that's
You
very
don't
interesting
you
that you
don't
go
listen
there.
That was just the first thing that came to mind.
Well, of course it is, because that's a woman's first emotional response. As soon as you start to have this argument of when men do this and communication and blah blah blah, women will always go to the outlier. They'll always go, well, what about domestic abuse? What about like that's
No, it just happens to be an area that I've worked in and that is very well studied.
Would you
That
agree that the study that shows that lesbian couples have the highest rate of domestic abuse
Oh yeah, absolutely.
far surpasses men-women relationships and even is quadrupled past male on male homosexual relationships?
I don't remember if it's quadrupled or not, but it is definitely higher than male on female. Yeah,
If it's
absolutely.
not quadrupled,
I
it's pretty
argue
close.
that I argue that all the time, because I have a real issue with the fact that we don't acknowledge men as victims nearly enough.
Is that the reason why, or is it the fact that women solve their problems with emotion? So a woman and a woman is just a volatile cocktail.
What does that have to do with what I just said?
I think it just goes to the point that women in general, you can't really listen to the things that if you were to go off of everything that a woman says, right? Let's take everything that, because this is the big argument that people have with this movie. He didn't listen to her. She was very clear with what she said. She was very specific about her life stance, and I would not disagree with that. She was very clear. She was very specific, and she gave out her whole kind of I don't do relationship spiel, and she was not quiet about it. She was very definitive. There's no ambiguity, and Tom kind of waffled a little bit. And again, like I said at the beginning, points against Tom for that. Okay, I listened to her. I listen. I don't judge. I judge a little. I listened and I believed her when she said that stuff. However, that did not wind up being true. Her whole life thesis, her whole morals and her whole code is completely thrown out the window when she finds the right guy, which sounds very suspiciously like what a chauvinist guy would say about either a lesbian or a woman that chooses to stay single. Oh, you just ain't found the right guy yet. I mean, that's a cringe-worthy statement, but again, that's exactly what happens.
I think that those are really different topics, first of all.
Are they?
They are.
Okay.
I think that she was very clear in her words.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was pretty clear in her actions.
I agree.
I think he was not clear with his words or his actions.
I agree.
Which is why my argument in all of this isn't that either of them is right or wrong. It's that they were both young and stupid and immature.
Don't you feel like that's possibly a bit of a cop out? I mean, you've said that more than once, and I'm actually not inclined to completely disagree with you. But at what point do we start to hold people accountable? Certainly at the age of 18, you can vote.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be. I'm not saying they shouldn't be held accountable. But I mean, how do you hold accountable? I decided to marry someone else and I broke up with you.
I think
I mean,
that
she didn't have an affair.
No.
She didn't, she wasn't secretly married the whole time. I mean,
No.
how do you hold accountable the fact that she broke up with him? It happens. He got his heart broken. He reacted very poorly for a guy who keeps saying like men don't act emotionally, and then like
as a rule,
he's
an outlier. He's an outlier. He's an exception. He's a little beta snowflake cupcake that's never learned how to be emotionally mature.
And yet you said yourself you've been there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not emotionally mature either. No, I'm totally like immature. I'm totally like, yeah. I can easily have flings with women and it means nothing, and then I fall for one and I think that that person should marry me and spend the rest of their life with me and give me all of their time. And so, but yeah, no, I'm no better. I'm worse. I'm worse than Tom. Tom's like a beautiful daydream compared to me.
What I'm saying is that to say you are holding her to standards you are not holding him to. And if I hold them both to the same standards, they both made mistakes. They were both dumb. He should have been less. See, normally I say the other way around. I say socially, women should be less emotional and men should be allowed to be more emotional. In this movie, he should have been like less emotional and she should have been more emotional. And they both should have communicated better.
Agreed. However, when the power dynamic is off,
however, you really want to hate Summer.
Listen, I will just tell you that prior to this, I saw Zooey Deschanel in Weeds and thought she was very charming. She plays like it's a very small part. She's only in like 4 or 5 episodes, but she plays a small part in the TV series Weeds and basically plays the same exact character. But just she's really off the rails there though. And to the point where she takes the 12-year-old younger son in the family because she was dating the older brother, robs the family and then like takes the son out to the bus station and leaves him there and just says, "Hey, I'll float back into your life when you're like 18 and I'm 27 and it's okay because I'll still be hot and we'll have a lot of fun." And she's just, and I thought that was extremely, I mean, it was a dark comedy. So you make
I only ever watched, I think the first. Yeah. I'm not even sure I finished the first season.
It's okay. It's not. I mean, it's got its problems.
When it became like every guy in the universe was hot for the middle-aged mom of 2 kids, I was kind of like, yeah, this is
yeah. It's definitely
It's a wish fulfillment.
For sure.
Middle-aged
it's
woman.
like the opposite. Showtime does a lot of shows like that. Like the opposite, I would say, would probably be Californication, where every single woman is falling all over themselves for this book editor who's made one novel in his life. I mean, it's a wish fulfillment. Those two are like twinsies shows, but yeah, for sure. But she was in that, and then I saw her in this, and I saw her in Yes Man, thought she was very cute and charming, and in Yes Man she's same role, Pixie Dream Girl. And I've heard many times people say The New Girl is a great show. I can't watch it because I'm still angry at her from this movie. Like, she's ruined me. So by time Tom kind of gets his shit together, he quits his job and he decides to go back into architecture, which I don't know if we even mentioned it in the stream. You know, he's a failed architect, and it's one of the things that I will give Summer credit for. She kind of wants to push him towards that, and the times when she's most happy with him is when he's expressing his talent, which I think that's admirable. I think, you know, when someone is supportive of your dream, you know, and not downplays it, I think that that's a very admirable trait. And of
And
course, you know, go ahead.
I also think that it's the reason their relationship fails, because if he doesn't care enough to pursue
I'll
the
buy
other
that.
thing he's passionate about,
I'll buy that.
then why should she trust
'Cause
him to
Because
not just
whatever else her
get
flaws are, she's a passionate person who lives by her dreams and her passions. Would you agree to
but
that?
I do agree with that, but what I'm saying is that he pursued his passion until it got hard and then gave up. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
why should she believe that he isn't going to obsess over her as his new passion until it gets hard and then he's going to give up?
Well, if I thought for a moment that she gave a shit about that, I would probably concede that, but I don't think she never ever saw him as anything other than this little play toy that she could mess with and do what she wanted with, and there was
A-
he never had a chance ever.
Again, you say that, but then you don't back it up. And what I'm
I
saying
mean,
is that if you watch their interactions when he's talking about architecture, she brightens up, she's more interactive, she's more
that's true.
engaged.
That's true.
And when he makes comments about, "No, I'm not gonna do it," you know, I probably would suck. That's when she pulls away and looks distressed and is less engaged in their relationship.
This is so funny because this is so similar to our argument in Hannibal, because again, I'm going to tell you that I don't think correlation is causation and vice versa. I don't think that leads into the decision making. I do agree that when he is passionate, I think when anybody's passionate about something, whether you are or not, like you could be into, I guess you raise animals or something like that in your private life, or I'm not trying to dox you, but I think it's,
No,
you know,
I'm pretty open about that. I
yeah,
raise endangered heritage breed animals.
sure. I think that now that doesn't interest me in the slightest, but I think if we were out having a drink and you were explaining that to me and I could see that you had a lot of passion involved in it, I would find that to be very endearing. I think everybody kind of always does, unless you're a real douche waffle and you don't care what the other person, you know what I mean? Like if you're intent, but if you have any kind of feelings for the other person at all, when they express to you the things that they are passionate about, that's why I kind of do as well as I do, even though I'm just an average looking guy with a very toxic personality, is because I'm very passionate about the things that I am interested in, well, you know, passionate about. And I express that and I bring that forth. That kind of draws people to me a lot. Unfortunately, you know, the opposite is true too. And then you know, my blood runs me more than my brains do in a lot of instances. Although as I've gotten older, I've learned some lessons. So I'm not completely the same 20-year-old whackadoodle that I was back then. You know, I've gotten a little older as my knees have gotten a little worse and things like that. But so there's, you know, he's got his stuff kind of together. You know, he's not completely repaired yet, but he does kind of have himself together, and he's at his favorite spot, which they established earlier on. Now there's some debate whether or not this scene actually takes place or not, whether this was all in his head or, and because he's an unreliable narrator, people have kind of latched onto that. But I have the opinion that this did happen because she's so freaking harsh with him. I don't think his mind would do that to himself. I think that
I mean, he's very harsh on himself, period, but it did not occur to me that this was anything other than real.
it's a pretty popular theory that this wasn't real. But again,
That's
it boils
bizarre.
my blood just like yours, where why did you dance with me? This guy was in your life. You were seeing this guy, you know, yeah, you weren't married, but I mean, it was kind of a foregone conclusion. And I did it because I wanted to, because I'm a pixie dream girl and I don't think about other people's thoughts or feelings or emotions. I kind of just do what I want. And I'm a big wrecking ball that goes through life just, ooh, well, devil may care, you know, la di da, fiddle dee dee. I'll think about that tomorrow. And yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I don't like the fact that she does this whole 180 and tells him, oh, I realized you were right all along. It just wasn't you that I was right about. Like, ugh, that is.
Well, she says I wasn't the one you were right about.
Well, either way, it's so unnecessarily. Or, well, she says, I realized something. I realized with him that I was never sure about with you. Like, oh, that's so unnecessary. You know, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, what else is she supposed to say?
Nothing. She's supposed to say nothing and leave him alone would be better. I think she felt like she wasn't sucking the energy anymore and wanted to make sure she still could a little bit. She probably was going through her day and, you know, reading a book in a coffee shop somewhere and was like, why am I so low ebb energy? You know what? Why don't I go hang out at the park where Tom likes to have his lunch and see if I can suck a little bit more of, you know, this oxytocin away from him and just, you know, rip his soul out a little bit more. That's what I think.
You're working really hard at this.
I don't think I have to work really hard at it because I think this stuff does it itself. I think there's certain women, and you have to concede there's certain women, they live their life with how much and how deep and how long they can destroy a man.
And there are.
You won't be needing this.
There's women that live for that.
No playing on emotions with that clip or anything.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, there are women that do that. There are men that do that. There are women that do it to women. There are men that do it to men. I do not in any way, shape, or form condone her behavior. I also don't condone his behavior. That, you know, she should just, you know, he's upset because she did what she wanted to, and rightfully so. But he's also upset because she didn't do what he wanted her to. You know, that's part of the point, I think, of that whole reality versus expectations. And what I was saying is when she didn't pay, you know, I mean, she's hosting a party. She has to mingle. And yet he was already getting angry about the fact that she wasn't absorbed in him, which is the vision he had in his head. And he was already angry before he saw the ring. He was already like on the snapping point before he saw the ring because she wasn't paying enough attention to him.
True, but what are your thoughts? I mean, again, you never really quite answered me. Whether it was an engagement party or it wasn't, she's definitely engaged at this point. And she's bringing this guy in, her most recent ex before, as is established, her most recent ex before the one she's with current, and who's very clearly, unless she's blind, which she is not, has feelings for her and brings him to the party.
I invited my ex to my, in fact, I invited 2 exes to my wedding.
Oof.
Rossi, you
One
are
of them-
nothing but a whore!
Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm the one who's emotional.
I never said I wasn't. I just said as a general rule, you know, the exceptions don't prove the rule.
I think that rule is a lot less general than you think it is.
I think it's a lot more general than you think that it isn't. So how about that? So near the end, after that's been established, he's been kind of shopping around. And it's never quite indicated. I mean, he's obviously being turned away at certain places, but you know what? He's chasing his dream, which I think is extremely admirable.
Yep,
I think
I thought that part was great.
I liked I don't know anything about math. I don't know anything about architecture. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. I can't draw to save my life. But I think that using
this building
whatever,
is also gorgeous.
It is. Using whatever fuel that you have in order to manifest your dreams, I think that that's maybe the bravest thing that you can do. I like it, and I like him for it. It makes me like him more. that he got his shit together and that he does this. So he runs into Minka Kelly. God, I love her so much, man. And not just because we share a name and it ain't Minka, but you know, he runs into her, and I guess they're both going for the same job, and she's kind of throwing it his way a little bit. She's digging his style. She likes his suit, and maybe she's just doing it because she's trying to throw him off his game before he goes into the interview. Who's to say?
And it works.
I mean, we don't really ever find out who got the job and who didn't, but
we don't, but we do know that he proceeded to stop the interview process to go back and ask her for coffee.
That's true. But I find that to be him getting back up on the horse and not being completely destroyed by previous events and previous actions, which I think is also admirable.
I do too, but one of the things I really liked about the whole thing with him getting back into architecture was that he was finding something within himself to become passionate about instead of being dependent on someone else for his emotional happiness.
I agree 100%, and I like that too.
And when he immediately throws away what is kind of implied to be the last company he can interview with, if you look at the crossouts on the board.
I didn't catch that in 30 something viewings. I did not catch that was possibly his last, but I will defer to you, and I'll grant it. I'll grant it because I can't say otherwise. So,
because I was trying to figure out what the point was of him crossing the names off, and then I realized that there's like this one name on the board and he has an interview. So I assume the assumption is supposed to be that this is kind of his last shot. And instead of focusing on it, he's getting distracted by another girl who's already, first of all, competing with him for the same job.
Mm-hmm.
And you know damn well that if he gets the job and she doesn't, or vice versa for that matter, every argument they have is going to end up with one of them resenting the other a little more for having gotten the job they wanted.
See, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, it's sort of like, you see Armageddon?
Yeah. Yeah.
My reaction to the very end of Armageddon when the daughter and the boyfriend get married was that marriage is going to last less than 5 years because every fight they have is going to end with her screaming, "You killed my dad."
Whoa. Oh my God.
And I was like,
holy crap, I never thought of that.
I was like, yeah, that there is no happy ending to that because like either he's just going to like stay in that marriage and be miserable and guilty, or
I can tell you that that thought has never occurred to me in all of my viewings. And I worked at a movie theater when that was out, so I've subjected to that movie many, many times. But you know what? You may be completely right. What's your thoughts on the fact that she is named Autumn?
There's a line in what was the first television series that came out for Marvel? Shield. And he says, you know, what do you think about this name? And he says, somebody really desperately wanted our acronym to be Shield. like they really stretched in order to like get it so that the acronym would be Shield.
I think it's interesting that so many people find Tom to be an unreliable narrator through so much of this when it's to his detriment, but they don't consider that this might be unreliable narration. That this
which
right
part?
Here, this whole meeting with this perfect girl who's also named Autumn, that maybe this is not real. No one, and I've never heard anybody say that. It's all the, maybe the meeting up with Summer near the end wasn't real. Maybe, all this, obviously the dance sequence after they have sex for the first time isn't real. I think it's interesting that no one ever considers that this isn't real.
The dance number is the only thing I ever thought of in this movie as being completely not real. When I say unreliable narrator, I was thinking more along the lines of we see everything from his perspective. And the fact is, so there's a tendency in human interactions that if you and I both see something from a different side,
Mhm.
and I say, well, this is how I see it, and you say, well, this is how I see it, there's a tendency for some reason for the assumption to be, well, one of you is lying. And that's just not true. I mean, if I see the side end of an elephant and you see the back end, we're going to see different things.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean either one of us is lying. It simply means we're seeing a different chunk of the picture.
I think
Um,
this right here shows this fourth wall break right here shows us that not only is this subject to, you know, a little bit of suspicion that this may not be what we're seeing is not exactly reality, but also the fact that he kind of learned his lesson. He's like, you're not getting me again. You know,
except the narration tells us exactly the opposite.
does it?
The narration goes on to this whole thing about he learned that, there was no such thing as, true love. There was no perfect moments. There's no yada, yada, yada. And then she says, hey, okay, we can have coffee. And immediately the narration turns to, well, I mean, he was pretty sure.
I think it's possible that's true, but I also think it's more likely that, whether he goes into this with whether this is real, whether this is not real, whether he's going into this with, inflated expectations, whatever. I think it tells us, my interpretation is it tells us that whatever happens, he's not going to make the same mistakes that he's been making with Summer and all the previous people, that to a degree he's learned his lesson. And I think,
see, I read it as exactly the opposite. But
well, of course you did.
I also read that Summer's marriage is probably going to be, divorced in 5 years
See,
because she
that
also
I agree with that as well.
she
100% agree. So
'cause I
this is
mean
we're in our
the
last
whole
10 minutes. Let's do our final if this was a court of public opinion or a court whatever, the YouTube court, give me your final statement. Your closing statement.
pretty much the same thing I've been saying the whole time. I think they're both immature. I don't think either of them learned anything. They both jumped from a very chaotic, tumultuous relationship that didn't end well into another relationship very, very quickly. There's no sign that they're not making exactly the same mistakes in his case or new mistakes in her case. I didn't find most of it funny, despite the fact that it's labeled as a comedy. Other than the Harrison Ford thing, I did find that very funny. And to me, it was really just another rom-com, except that in this case, they didn't end up together. It's, what is it? My Best Friend's Wedding? To me, it was just sort of like My Best Friend's Wedding, except in this case, she's the one that got married instead of the guy.
That's interesting.
I mean, I don't think that it's a good guy, bad guy thing. I think it's simply that they're both dumb. They both didn't learn much, and it kind of made me wonder what the point of the movie was supposed to be because it just kind of ends on the same place it starts.
Would it be something you'd be willing to watch again at any time?
I mean,
And if you do you think your opinion may or may not change?
if I had to, I would watch it again. But I mean, I liked Sliding Doors significantly better, and I haven't watched that again in 20 years. I mean, if it were for something like this, sure, I'd watch it again. And if I saw something new, then sure. I mean, I honestly don't have strong enough feelings about either character or the movie to be strongly attached to any of those, to any of my opinions on it. So,
well, fair enough. Well, my presentation in the defense of Tom is that although Tom might have been wishy-washy about some of his intentions and some of the things that he thought or said, I think many times he was very definitive on what his stance was on not only relationships, but on what kind of person that he was. I think he's a flawed character, certainly, but I don't believe he deserved to have the gut punch, like being ripped to shreds. Now, I'm sure that, there's some people that might say, well, that was his hero's journey, and he had to kind of go through that in order to become the guy that he is. And to that response, I will just simply say that is like saying Sansa Stark had to go through what she went through in order to become the queen that she was, or people
Really?
who
You're
were
making the comparison to like having your parents murdered, and you complained because I went straight to to, to, to abuse.
to DV. Yeah. Well, that
And
only
you're
because that's a
and you're
very
you're
common.
going to torture and murder as opposed to a 20-year-old's breakup.
I think that Tom represents a lot of guys, and I think he represents a lot of guys pretty accurately. A lot of guys are just kind of waffling through life, and they, their body count is and I don't mean body count in the way of, removing people from the planet. I mean body count and the other body count. And I think it's usually pretty low, and I think that guys don't really have a whole lot of game, and they don't have a whole lot of understanding besides from media, movies, greeting cards, TV sitcoms, rom-coms, as you put it. I don't think they have a lot of experience with that. I think women in this dynamic have a lot of the power, maybe even most. And unless a guy is willing to be evasive, aloof, and toxic, even a good-looking guy can still struggle with this. And I think that the struggles that Tom goes through are pretty relatable to a lot of guys that would watch this movie. I call it a breakup movie. I think it is exactly that. I think it's one of those things that you kind of have to go through. I think some of the things are very extreme, and I certainly don't defend all of Tom's actions, but I defend a lot of his actions because I think that at the end of the day, Summer was a extremely toxic person, and it takes one to know one. And I've spent a lot of my life in relationships destroying people just because listen, one of the greatest feelings you can have is when people throw all of their love, admiration, all of their energy towards you, towards giving you the things that you want, whether that be status, sex, money, comfort, happiness, all of the above, some of the above, any combination of those things. And to be able to just toy with them and destroy them at your will, that is a great feeling. It makes you feel good to do that. Unfortunately, there's a byproduct. So? There's a byproduct of that. Hey, this is my final synopsis. You don't get to interrupt or interject. You had your chance.
I wish you'd brought that up earlier because I'm kind of fascinated by that idea.
It makes you feel good. It gives you lots of, whatever that chemical in your brain that people get from scrolling on TikTok that, that stuff that's just a quick, easy win. And it makes you feel good for that moment in time. But the problem is, the dopamine. You don't get those dopamine hits from the regular stuff anymore. That's why when things get normal, people get anxious and upset because they don't understand. A lot of people like to be in that area of chaos. They don't want stability because stability equals accountability, and accountability is kryptonite to a lot of people, mostly women, but men too. People don't like to hold themselves. They don't like to be self-aware. I myself am very self-aware. I'm a very toxic person, and I've destroyed many a people. I've destroyed marriages. I've destroyed relationships, and I didn't do it because I was just in love and just didn't know any better and la-di-da. I did it because it made me feel good. It made me feel powerful. So that's how I see Summer. I see her as I think that's why I don't like her, because I don't like myself.
I was just gonna say, are you aware that a therapist would suggest that possibly you simply related to her too much?
I think that's pretty. I think that's pretty.
See, I find the idea of someone wanting to give me everything, and I find that gross. Like I would break up with them because I can't handle that much pressure.
Well, my dear, I find you to be one of those women that is not only emotionally mature, but you're mature. And I think that you have probably gone through a lot in your younger years, and you actually did learn things from them. I think that you would probably be somebody that is accountable, but I also know, and I know it, I don't think it, I know that you are an exception, not the rule. I think that you are what most guys would regard as a unicorn, as someone that actually believes in what they believe in, says what they mean, and means what they say. But you're never going to convince me that that's the majority. I think that's always going to be the minority.
I had a friend once who so I am at least on speaking terms with every ex I've had except one. And a friend of mine once said, "You know that when women say, like, we can still be friends, like, nobody ever really means that." And I was like, I do. Why would you say it otherwise?" And he's
Well,
like, "Yeah, that's just not normal."
it's true though. It's 100% true. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's where I come out. I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy this as much as I did, but I definitely appreciate the fact that you did go through this just to do this with me. And I managed to get it in before the end of cuffing season. So I'm extremely happy about that.
And
but
I did enjoy the conversation a lot. So
yeah, I like when we disagree, because we disagree the way smart people disagree. So that's the Lord of Toxicity. Did you have anything you wanted to plug super quick before we go, or?
I will be on Roman's channel tonight, though this may not be out before then, and I should have my Tech Edition video out before the end of the week. That's pretty much it.
Cool. All right. Well, for anybody watching, if you're going through and struggling with a breakup, remember, the best way to get over somebody is to get underneath somebody else. So just go out there and find someone who looks just like her and rip her heart to shreds and treat her as much like shit as you possibly can. That's good advice coming from the Lord of Toxicity, reminding everyone to be as toxic as you possibly can be, because we only live for a very short time before we shuffle off this mortal coil. And the way that you can make sure that you stay happy is to make other people miserable. So with that, I will leave you with this.
Riding on the wings of destruction, a toxic presence, a lord of corruption, polluting the ocean, spreading in decay, the toxin black, gnawing the flame, searing through the sand.
I've got balls of steel.